I'm making this video today for us Potsies to be able to use to send to family and friends, because there are a lot of misconceptions about POTS, and there's a lot of people that don't quite understand the syndrome. So I just wanted to take a little bit of time, explain what our lives are like to you, and explain to you a little bit of what it's like to live with POTS. So I did write something up. Please forgive me for reading. I'm going to try to keep it interesting if I can. Dear family and friends, here's a few things that we Potsies would like you to know. POTS stands for Postural Orthostatic Tachycardia Syndrome. Postural is, your posture. So are you sitting down, laying? Are you standing? Orthostatic is the positional change. Tachycardia is your heart beating too fast. And a syndrome is a collection of symptoms that someone might have. It's caused by a dysfunction of the autonomic nervous system. And that means that the things that run automatically for you, like your body temperature control, your heart rate, your blood vessel constriction and dilation, and so on, are actually malfunctioning for us for whatever reason. Some people have too much adrenaline in their system. Some people have had concussions. Sometimes it happens after a viral infection. Sometimes we don't know why people have it. Also, a syndrome, as in postural orthostatic tachycardia syndrome, is a collection of many, many different types of symptoms, and for that reason it can look different for anybody. But most of us Potsies have a few things in common. First of all, POTS is invisible, so we look normal. We don't look sick. That makes it a little bit more difficult for us, because you might look at us and think that everything looks hunky-dory, but most likely on the inside we're going through a really intense struggle. As said by, as I'm going to quote here, Rihanna Rulston from Dysautonomia International, some patients can have fairly mild symptoms and they can continue with their normal work, school, social, and recreational activities. For others, symptoms may be so severe that normal life activities such as bathing, housework, eating, sitting upright, walking, or even just standing can be significantly limited. Physicians with experience in treating POTS have compared the functional impairment seen in POTS patients to the impairment seen in chronic obstructive pulmonary disease, or COPD, or congestive heart failure. Research has found that the quality of life in POTS patients is comparable to patients on dialysis for kidney failure. So even though we look fine, even though we look well, as a matter of fact, we're not feeling well. Also, in addition to that, something that compounds the difficulty of this syndrome is that the quality of life can vary drastically from day to day. So one day you may see your loved one up and about, gardening and cleaning, and the next day you may see them stuck on the couch watching TV all day. This is not them being lazy. A bad day can be caused by anything as minor as what we ate or drank the day before, how much sodium we ate, how much potassium we ate, and also even the barometric pressure. As there's a storm coming in, when the barometric pressure decreases outside of our body, our blood vessels dilate, and that causes a lot of problems for us. Same with the temperature. If it's hot outside, blood vessels dilate. Problem. So here's some behaviors you may see in us, but you may not fully understand. You may see us sitting inside on a perfectly nice summer day. Most people would wake up, look outside at the weather, look out the window and say, it's a beautiful sunny day. I'm going to spend all day outside. It's so gorgeous. And a POTS patient would look outside the window and they'd say, oh, it's hot, it's sunny, it's humid. And they see exhaustion and fatigue. They see dizziness and brain fog. And that may lead them to stay indoors in the air conditioning, whether that's intentional or not. This is because as the temperatures rise outside, the blood vessels in our legs dilate. The blood will then pool in our legs, making it more difficult to get blood to our brains. This is associated with the autonomic nervous system because a normal person's autonomic nervous system, when it's hot outside and their blood vessels dilate, their autonomic nervous system tells their blood vessels to constrict. and constricting the blood vessels makes it easier for it to get to your brain. Our autonomic nervous system forgets or doesn't get the signals to constrict, so they stay dilated, which means the blood pools in the feet and the legs. It means the heart has to beat faster and harder in order to get the blood to the brain. So we can see resting heart rates of 150 plus beats per minute, which is basically the heart rate as if you had just run a marathon. And we can get that just from sitting, standing, walking, doing dishes. Good luck bending over and trying to pick something up. So heat is not our friend. And I remember growing up, I was always averse to going to the beach, and I never liked going to the beach, and I described it as being this oppressive feeling, like the sun was suffocating me and beating me down. And my friends and family literally thought I was crazy. And now it all makes sense now that I have my POTS diagnosis. I know that it was just a way of my body producing anxiety so that I would avoid a situation that wasn't really good for me. So when we get this feeling, when our blood is pooling and we can't get it back up to our brains, we get a feeling that we're literally being almost partially strangulated, dizzy, confused, exhausted, anxious, a sense of doom, we're out of breath, we're very tired. So we tend to avoid the heat, which is counterintuitive because most people like to go out in the summer. And you may even see us laying on the couch when it's not hot outside. This can be due to our chronic fatigue. And this fatigue isn't like, oh, I stayed up all night studying. This fatigue feels like your limbs are made out of concrete. You cannot move them even if you wanted to. You try to go on a walk when you're having a bad day, you get stuck. You almost have to call for someone to pick you up. It's so bad. You just cannot complete the walk. You cannot move. It makes things like even getting up to go to the bathroom difficult, let alone running errands, doing chores, things of that nature. You may see us wearing some of the ugliest shoes you've ever seen in your life, or you may see us sitting on the sidelines during our children's soccer games. You may also see us tossing and turning in bed every 5 minutes. That's because for many of us, the joint pain can be excruciating, and we need to compensate for that. You may see us turning down a family hike, and that's because although we know it would be fun, and we know it would be good for us to get some fresh air, as we all love to do, we also know that taking this particular hike could cause us to be recovering on the couch for 2 days after that. Or we could be on the hike and we could get so dizzy, exhausted, fatigued, and get so much brain fog and anxiety that we would feel almost like we need to be lifted out by helicopter in order to make it. It's very anxiety producing, and generally speaking, POTSies try to stay close to a home base, their car. Anytime you ask someone with POTS to travel a long distance without having somewhere to go to recover if necessary, it creates a lot of anxiety. Doctors recommend for POTS patients to not even use a treadmill. They recommend that we do all reclined exercises, and if you do decide to do a walk, they recommend 20 steps in one direction, turning around, 20 steps in the other direction, and if you can successfully complete that, they say try another 20 steps. So as you can tell, it's extreme baby steps for us, and making a commitment bigger than that can be a bit intimidating for us because we don't know what the result will be. You may see us chugging water all day. You see I have my trusty 1 liter water bottle here. I drink 2 of these a day. Most POTSies like to drink 2 liters a day. We also eat a lot of salt, and we try to incorporate electrolytes whenever possible, sodium, potassium, etc., etc. We have mixes. We use Gatorade. We use special mixes that we can buy online that work sort of like a saline IV would work. Because POTSies generally have less blood volume than the average person. It's called hypovolemia. And it also incorporates into all of the symptoms that we have of having trouble with getting enough blood to our brains, which causes a lot of the symptoms. So you may see us drinking a lot of water. You may see us sitting on the couch, watching a show, reading a book, and we may seem perfectly okay. But meanwhile, on the inside, we're figuratively dying. And this one is more emotional than physical. We're dying because we cannot participate. We cannot wash the dishes that we can see from the couch that make us feel guilty. We cannot make dinner for our families. We cannot even seem to get up to shower. And it makes us want to scream and cry and yell all at the same time. But we try to stay calm, which can often come off as complacency or laziness. In reality, it's just the most frustrating situation, and it's enough to bring us to tears. We feel so helpless, so hopeless, knowing there's no cure for this, that we can't help our families, that we're missing out on so much in life that other people can do. Just yesterday, my son was with my mother-in-law, his grandma, and during his nap, she baked blueberry muffins for him. And later that evening, I cried and I cried and I cried because I could not imagine a life where I felt so energized and so motivated that while my son was resting, I could batch up a batch of muffins. It's just so unfathomable to me to have that level of energy and motivation. And it's so frustrating to know that we'll never live a normal life like others do. And we have to come up with a new normal for us, and we have to find some sort of acceptance for it. I'll never be the mom cooking up a batch of muffins while he sleeps, and that's okay. You may see that divot in the couch as a sign that we sit there too much. I know a lot of people would, but we see that couch as a lifeline. It's a sign of hope. It's that we are grateful that that couch is in the middle of the house so that we can watch the hustle and bustle of the house. We can watch the kids running around, the husband, the wife, the mom, the dad, whatever it may be. It's very important to keep that couch in the center of the house so that you can see all of that going on. And that means that we can participate without having to stand up, bend over, do all the things that are quite difficult for us to do. You may see us turn down that glass of wine that we used to love so much, or that beer. And that's because alcohol is a vasodilator. That means it dilates the blood vessels. And if we drink it, we're likely to feel about 100 times worse. Our blood, again, will pool in our legs, and we may get symptoms like a racing heart of 150 plus beats per minute. A bounding pulse that feels like your heart is pounding through your head, your ears, your neck, your arms, and your legs, just like your heart is pounding out of your whole body at once. We could get heart palpitations, chest pain, dizziness, and most importantly, the inability to sleep due to these symptoms. If we don't sleep, we have a bad day the next day, and possibly the one after that. And it's a bit of a catch-22, so we try to prevent these situations whenever possible. You may have even seen us come back from doctor's appointment after doctor's appointment after doctor's appointment and think, oh my goodness, this person is such a hypochondriac. And in reality, the majority of doctors don't understand our condition yet, and they also think that we're hypochondriacs. That to them, we're complaining of seemingly random and unrelated symptoms. You know, oh, I get goosebumps in patches on only one arm and chest pain at the same time. Is that related, doctor? Well, sure, that sounds crazy to some of them, especially if they don't know a lot about POTS. But what I've come to learn is that with the autonomic nervous system, just about anything is possible. So all those crazy wackadoodle symptoms that you hear us complaining about, we ain't making those up. And the most frustrating thing for us is going to the ER because doctors, again, will look at us a bit as a hypochondriac, and we're going in because we're suffering for some great reason. We feel like we're passing out, we feel like we're dying, our chest is exploding, it hurts so bad, we don't know what's wrong, and we want help. And you go in and you tell them you want POTS, you have POTS, and that you want an IV, and they look at you like you're crazy, that you think you're superior to them, that you think that you're trying to teach them a lesson, and they are reluctant to treat those types of people. So oftentimes we have trouble getting treatment when we really need it the most, and it's extremely frustrating, and it will beat you down at times, and it's important to not let it get to us and to keep trying. And if we do feel like we're in trouble and we need help, we need to be able to rely on those doctors. So hopefully even maybe some of them will see this video and maybe it will help a little bit with the knowledge being spread around about the types of things we go through. And no, it's not life-threatening, and the ER should be reserved for life-threatening things, but sometimes when you feel like your heart is exploding, you think it's life-threatening. So that's the medical stuff. And related to the medical things, you may see us taking a handful of pills 2, 3, 4 times a day and think to yourself that we over-rely on medications, when in reality, without those medications, we would be living a life not worth living. We need these medicines to keep us functioning. So you may be wondering, what can you do to help? Unfortunately, there's not much you can do. You're doing something right now. You're watching this video, and that's extremely important, and we're very grateful for that. Unfortunately, there's not much we can do. It's a syndrome with no cure. We try to drink lots of water. We eat lots of salt. We take 15 minutes sitting in bed before we try standing. We try to remember to take our medications on time. We try to exercise while at the same time turn down exercise that we know will be too strenuous. We try to be active with our friends and our family without killing ourselves in the process. We try to turn down alcohol even though we see our friends and family celebrating together. We try to wear compression garments to push the blood back up to our brains. We try to monitor our heart rates to make sure that we are staying safe. We try to avoid extreme heat. We try to take the day off when we need it so that the next day may be better. So what can you do? You can try to understand what we are going through and understand that it is a struggle. You can understand we aren't making it up. You can try to have a little bit of empathy. You can do the dishes or make dinner. But most of all, you can let us do what we need to do in order to feel better, whatever that is, and no matter how odd it may seem to you. And most importantly, you can try not to judge us. We're not lazy. We're not averse to hard work. We're not unmotivated. We're just tired, and we're just sad, and we're just frustrated that we can't do the things that normal people can do, and that we have to come up with a new normal for ourselves. And we're just upset that so few people really understand this syndrome. Hopefully this video helped a few more people understand that the struggle is real. Thank you for listening, friends and family. We appreciate your support and care, and I hope that this video brought you a little bit of understanding about the condition. And we just thoroughly appreciate all that you do for us and for listening to this video in its entirety. It really means the world to us. Thank you.